Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people, well, welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks. And today, we are continuing our series of Active Balance in Life. And this month, we've been diving into how we can create balance in all areas of our lives. And today, we're focusing on one of the most important areas, and that is relationships. You know, our relationships with family, friends, and our partners are at the core of our lives. But how do we nurture those connections, right? Without losing ourselves in the process. That's exactly what we're going to explore today. Finding balance in healthy relationships while maintaining our own sense of self. But before we dive in, I want to remind you that we have some amazing resources available to you to support you on this journey. You can download our free mini ebooks, 5 Simple Ways to Set Your Intentions for a Harmonious Life. And for those who want to dive a little deeper, we have a full 102-page ebook workbook called The Balancing Act, a guide of harmonizing your life. Both are designed to help you bring more balance into your everyday life. And don't forget about our 21-day Living in Life Balance Challenge, which is a perfect way to engage with the themes we're discussing in this series. And today's episode fits right into the challenge as we talk about nurturing relationship while maintaining balance. All right, so let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get down deep into this topic, all right? It's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back. What are some common barriers that prevent people from expressing? Hey, it's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here from the Season of Self-Love podcast.
Yeah, I would say remorse. So shame and guilt is a very dividing emotional.
And these are one of the many amazing conversations that we have every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast with myself, Nyomi Banks, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington of Washington Wellness Institute. Come by.
The reality of our relationships with people.
Come by.
And a lot of times we're afraid of how people look at us. And so that compassion can't enter.
You can hit us on our website, the Season of Self-Love podcast.com. Let me ask you this, with the truth, is it
Hey, this is Dog Pound Mike from Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast. Come check us out every week. And remember, I'm no relationship expert. I just tell it like I hear it from the kennel. Get back at it.
All right, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and we are in our month series of the Act of Balance in Life. And today we're talking about relationships and how can we maintain a balanced relationship without losing ourselves. But let's start today's episode with a nice brief meditation to help us to ground ourselves and set our intentions for a more nurturing, healthy relationship, all right? So if you are in a safe space, I invite you to close your eyes and just simply soften your gaze. I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale out of your mouth. All right, let's do this again. Inhale deeply through your nose, filling your lungs with air. And exhale slowly, letting go of any tension or stress that you may be carrying. As you continue to breathe, I want you to focus on relationships in your life. I want you to picture yourself nurturing those connections, but also staying grounded in your own needs and well-being. I want you to imagine a balance where you can give love and support to others while still taking care of yourself. Now, right now, I want you to focus on 2 words. And the 2 words are balance and overwhelm. Now, with the word balance, I want you to think about what that word means, and I want you to inhale balance. Now hold that. Now I want you to exhale overwhelm. Now as you continue to breathe, I want you to set an intentions for today's episode. So that whether it's learning to communicate better, or finding more time for the people who you love, or if it's just reconnecting with yourself. Now, when you are ready, I want you to gently open your eyes or bring your awareness back to the present moment. All right? And I thank you for sharing this moment with me, all right? Now, if you're new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, it's something that we do every day, Monday through Friday, where we help ground ourselves before we get into the topic at hand. All right, so now let's dive into today's main topic. Nurturing healthy relationships without losing ourselves can be very difficult to find a balance, especially when we care so deeply about the people in our lives, whether it's with your partner, our children, our friends, or even colleagues. It's easy to fall in between the trap of giving so much of ourselves that you forget to take care of your own needs. One of the things that I often hear from my coaching clients is that they struggle with guilt. They feel guilty about taking time for themselves because they believe that their time should be spent taking care of others. But the truth is that when you lose yourself in the process, you're not showing up as the best version of yourself for the people that you love. In chapter 4 of our ebook, Balancing Act, we talk about the importance of nurturing relationships in a way that supports both you and the people in your life. It's all about finding that delicate balance where you can care for others while still maintaining your own sense of self. A big part of maintaining a healthy relationship is learning how to communicate effectively. You see, communication is the key to a strong relationship, but it's not just about talking. It's about listening and expressing your needs in a way that fosters understanding and connection. So I have a few steps of improving that communication in your relationship, all right? And I know we talked about this before, but I want to truly put a stamp on this so you can understand. One of the ones is active listening. That's when someone is talking to you and you're really listening to what they are saying. So don't just wait for your turn to respond. Focus on understanding their perspective and validating their feelings. That is something that I truly got strong with on this platform. Now that I've opened it up to guests, I'm able to sit there and allow them to tell their story, but I'm listening. I'm active listening. Instead of me reading or what the questions that I've had already down for them, I'm actually listening to what they are saying. So now my questions are relatable to what they are saying, but relevant. That I'm able to understand their perspective as well as me understanding, but they also understanding the connection, and for my listeners to understand, if that makes sense. All right, the next one is expressing your feelings. It's important to be open about how you feel, whether you're happy, stressed, or frustrated, and sharing those emotions help your loved ones understand what you're going through. So try using I statements like I feel overwhelmed when instead of placing blame. So let me share this quick story with you all. All right. So back in the day, I'm going to say in my early teens, through my early 20s, and probably going into just when I hit my 30s, right in the beginning of my 30s. And I was the type of person that I will always tell you what I felt right there in the moment. If you make me feel a certain way, I'm going to tell you right then and there. The problem is that I didn't have a filter. I didn't have a filter on my mouth when I spoke those words or I said those things to those people. I didn't even have the tools back then on how to understand what a filter is. And I know a lot of people say, well, you put a filter in and you're not being real. No, that's not what I mean by having a filter. The words that we put out there are strong, magical words. And I led with my emotions and not the words that came out of my mouth. So at that moment, if I knew how to balance the words with my emotions coming out of my mouth, there might be relationships that could have saved, or feelings that I wouldn't have hurt so bad, or trauma that I wouldn't have put on others. Does that make sense? So I am so down for expressing your feelings. But what I learned to do is I learned to take a deep breath in before I begin to speak. And in my head, I will count to 10 or 20, however intense that conversation is. And then I will reply back. My words will lead in love and not to bring anybody down and not to be right. Before, I was coming from a place that I needed to be right. It was love, but I've always felt like I was coming from a place of protective, that I had to protect myself. A place in the blame or something. But I've learned how to truly speak with my heart and my emotions and be able to balance them while using my words. Yeah, I just wanted to share. I was a mess. But you can definitely see if you would have known me back then and who I am now, y'all were like, really? She is such a hard ass. I have to laugh at this. I truly do, because when I think about it, and even when I go back home and I'm talking to old people, and even some of my family members, they ready for me to snap off, and they looking like, damn, she's so zen. Is she had? Like, what's going on with her? And then it's like, no. Sometimes things is not even that serious. And I kind of see it your way. I'm not saying that you're right or I'm wrong, but I can understand your point of view right now. And all I want to do is this so we can better understand each other. We can agree to disagree. And I don't take as many things personal. The next one is managing conflicts. I just spoke about it. Constructively. Conflict is a natural in relationships, but how you handle it makes all the difference. Instead of letting emotions take over you, take a step back and breathe. Remember I told you breathe? 10 to 20, depending on how intense that conversation is. And then approach the situation with the goal of a resolution rather than being right. When I tell you my mother wanted me to be a lawyer, she wanted me to be a lawyer, a politician. My mother thought that I was going to be the first black president. I'm not even going to say woman, but she thought I was going to be the first black president because I was very argumentative. If you was to put me on a debate team, I would debate the hell out of it. But I will go to and do my research on it. Definitely will. Because I couldn't see anyone else's perspective. Because I just had to be right. Because I was proving a point. and not understanding that through all of that, that it was just creating more chaos and more trauma in my life. And it was making me so unbalanced that even in my beginning of my adult life from 19, 20, 21 to even in my late 20s, that I could not have a successful conversation, especially on the business side, especially when it came to men, because I was always coming from a defensive and trying to prove myself. Yeah. 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 All right, so let me do this. Let me share this with you. I'm going to share a quick scenario to illustrate this. Imagine that you're feeling overwhelmed with a household task and your partner hasn't been helping as much as you like. But instead of bottling up your frustrations or snapping at them, you can say, I've been feeling really stressed with all that housework lately. Can we figure out a way to split the task more evenly? All right? So basically, look, baby, this has truly become very overwhelming for me, all of this work. And I know you get tired and I'm tired too, but can we split some of this a little bit? Can we try to figure this out on how we can split this where it's more evenly? See, it's about approaching the conversation calmly and with a solution in mind. And it can lead to a much more productive outcome. And I know a lot of you, sometimes they wrong. Hey, it's not about being wrong or right. I've learned it and still learning it to this day. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is quality time, ensuring quality time with loved ones. You know, another key aspect is nurturing healthy relationships is making quality time a priority. You see, we're all busy, but making time for the people that you love is so essential in keeping those connections strong. It doesn't have to be elaborate or time-consuming. Sometimes the simplest moments are the most meaningful. Here are a few to ensure that you are spending quality time with your loved ones, even with packed schedules. This is something that I used to do on a daily, especially on a weekly when I was living in California, when I had my family with me in California. We would do family game nights. But this actually is something that I grew up in. My grandmother used to do family game nights on weekends. My auntie does that. She used to do it all the time when we were kids. Family game nights where all of the family, and I come from a very big family, that we all come together. You might have one room doing Pacino, one room doing spades, one room doing Pictionary. So we had different rooms that we were doing different things, but we all came together as a family so we could spend that quality time with each other, that we wasn't just seeing each other during funerals or weddings. That's for extended family, but also for your personal family, your immediate family. You know, it makes it more fun to be able to have those moments where you sit down, or even like a board game or movie night. On Fridays, we have movie night. I used to do it really big. I used to go to the 99-cent store and get the girls the little candy boxes that they have from the store, do the popcorn, like all of that, you know, to kind of make it, you know, like that. But then everybody started to get busy. Everybody got into their sports and stuff like that, which was fine. But that's something that we implemented into, because I knew that I had worked a lot. And then in my relationship, date nights. Whew. Date nights is so very important when you are in a relationship. And date nights, especially when you have children, because you have to continue to have that relationship with you and him, or you and her, without those children, because you don't want to lose that spark. You see, when you're in a romantic relationship, you have to make a habit of scheduling regular date nights, or even if it's just cooking dinner together or going for a walk. One thing is that we used to love to do on Saturdays. Get up early Saturday morning, go garage sale shopping for 2 or 3, 4 hours, and then go to breakfast. When our schedule is, we make sure at least on Saturdays, that is what we do. So it was a date. It might not always been a night, but it was a date. And then once a month, we would do a date night. Because we had to make sure that we were still staying connected with one another, regardless on our businesses, work, and children. And then simple check-ins is another one. If your schedule is tight and you try sending a quick text or making a short phone call to check in with your loved ones during the week, even if it's brief moments or connection, can make a big difference. For me, my two oldest girls are on the other side of the world, of the country. And so I have a family group chat that on Mondays I would send out a chat, wishing them the best week ever. I asked them how was their weekend doing if I hadn't talked to them, and just send out one to just motivate them to go throughout the week with a prayer in our group chat to make sure that they know that I am always thinking of them. And I still want them to do their grown folks thing. I don't want to be bugging them, but I want to let them know that I am thinking of you. And know that I am always here when you need. So even little things like that. And don't forget to set boundaries to protect your personal time. And it's important to carve out those moments for yourself to recharge so that you can show up fully in your relationship. I remember when my oldest girl moved out. She moved to Texas. And then when my middle baby, when she went away to school, I had to understand that they are now adults. And so I had to regulate boundaries for myself when communicating with them. Because I had to allow them to go through their growing pains. Meaning that I wasn't far away from them. I was right there, a phone call away. I would hop on a plane in a second for them. But I also wanted them to know is that I want you to go live your life for who you are and not who I am. It's time for you to use the tools that I've given you to make whoever it is that you are supposed to be outside of who I am as your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncles, or whatever. And when you make those mistakes or whatever, I will be here. I will never tell them, I told you so or anything like that because I was a 19, 20, 21-year-old student, college student. I was a mother at 20 years old. I was a 30-year-old single mother when I was going through my divorce. So I understand exactly everything that they are going through. And so I set my boundaries for myself, but also with them. And also with my friends. Now, my mama a little different. But that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. All right, so I want to share another letter that came in. And this is from Miss Tamera is her name. She's a mother of 3 young children, and she's been feeling very overwhelmed by the demands of her family life. And I think many of us can relate to her story, so I'm excited to share this letter with you. And she writes, Dear Naomi, I hope this message finds you well. I'm a 45-year-old mother of 3 young children, all under the age of 12, with school, sports, and various activities consuming our lives. I find myself feeling overwhelmed most days, but when the kids are at school or involved in their activities, I'm usually doing housework, running errands, or completing tasks that never seem to end. I often feel like I'm lost in the daily grind and I rarely take time for myself. I truly want to nurture my relationship with my family and friends, but it's a constant battle to find the balance. I often feel guilty taking time away for myself, believing I should be focused on my family, yet I feel like I lose part of myself in the process. But in your ebook, especially in chapter 4, I found great advice on nurturing relationships and the importance of communicating effectively. I often neglect quality time with my partner and friends. So how can I make meaningful connections without feeling overwhelmed or guilty? Any advice on how I can create that quality time while still managing my responsibility will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for providing such valuable resources and insights. I look forward to hearing from you, your response. Warm regards, Tamera. First of all, thank you, Tamara, for sharing your story. And I think so many of us, especially parents, can relate to the feeling of being overwhelmed and struggling to find our balance. And it's easy to get caught up in our day-to-day responsibilities and forget to make time for ourselves. But it's so important to remember taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. One of the things that I suggest is finding small pockets of times throughout your day just for you. Whether it's during the kids' nap time or after they go to bed or even in the morning before everyone wakes up. Use that time to do something that recharges you, whether it's reading a book, taking a bath, or simply enjoying a cup of coffee in peace. One thing that I do, I go to the pool. I don't get in the pool. I grab me a nice cup of tea and I sit out there before the sun comes up and I'm out there if I'm not working out. Because I know how hectic my days get. And so those are things that I do. Even in my meditation room, I take a moment for that as well. But I also encourage you to ask for help, whether from your partner, your friends, or your family members. You don't have to do it all alone. And asking for support doesn't mean that you are failing. And when I stress this, my single mothers out there, or my mothers out there who are super moms, ones that are married and doing it all, you have to take time for yourself. And when I tell you I've learned that the hard way because I was putting everyone else before me. And when I did that, they ate before I did. They did this before. I made sure that everybody was doing, and my body shut down on me like this. And I said, wait, hold on. I have to make time where I can take care of myself so I can take care of everybody else. Because again, I will not be able to give them what they need from me. That's like I am pouring from a half empty cup. So now we both in a starvation. I'm not giving them the fullness. And when I start to truly learn that, I start to switch it up. So I'm steady filling in my cup. So my cup is full and flowing over, as Dr. Will would say. Continue to build your cup to where it's flowing over. It's so funny. I had this conversation with my baby earlier this week, and we were talking about our relationships and how I had imposter syndrome. Once I got into the industry and I started to become very successful, and it's even before then, I wanted to make sure that as long as I was making it, that my family was making it. So I was trying to bring everybody along, right along with me. Because I did not want to leave anyone behind. Because I felt guilty if they were not able to get on, knowing that they were talented. Just as talented that I was, if not more talented. I wanted to make sure, okay, I had this opportunity, so I'm going to make sure that they had the opportunity. And in the process, it was blocking everybody. Everybody was unbalanced. Because I was pulling them in somewhere that they did not want to be, or they wasn't ready to be there. But also, that was blocking me. Because I was pulling people that was not ready for it, or didn't want it. And it was blocking me. And so I had to let that go. Yep, I just wanted to share that with you for a moment, ready, that we just can't get lost. And I was getting ready to go somewhere, and I was like, hold on. You got a guest that's coming on in the next few weeks that's going to help explain that imposter syndrome thing. So we're not getting ready to go into that, right? We're not getting ready to go into that because then I get real preaching in after that, preaching on my own self. All right. All right. So, all right. Like I said, we'll talk more about that, but let's move on. But I want you to remember that nurturing your own well-being, it allows you to show up even more fully to the people who you love. All right. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you the key takeaways Maintaining a balanced relationship isn't about giving all of yourself to others. It's about nurturing those connections while also taking care of your own needs. Effective communication, quality time, and setting boundaries are all essential to creating healthy and fulfilling relationships. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to download the free mini ebook or check out our full workbook for more tools and exercises on balancing your life. And don't forget to join our 21-day Living Balance Challenge. It's a great way to put these ideas into practice. You can start whenever you want to. You can go back to day one and continue to go. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. Take the time this week to nurture your relationship, but don't forget to nurture yourself too. All right? All right, my beautiful people, again, thank you for tuning in to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I hope that today's episode gave you some very valuable insights into how to nurture your relationship without losing yourself. Next week, we will continue our Act of Balancing Life series with an episode on balancing self-care and responsibilities. So be sure to subscribe and join us for that. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to leave a review and share your thoughts. So until next time, take care of yourselves and practice self-love. And remember, you can nurture your relationships and yourself at the same damn time. All right. Have an amazing day. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovering and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.